Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte Clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Somebody please think of the children!
Serious face. Podcasting is serious business. And welcome back to Little... Yeah, and let me just say, who mows at 6:05 on a Wednesday? Someone is mowing out there, and I'm like, really? Sir, some of us are podcasting. I don't know if you can hear it.
Some of us are podcasting. We have to, like, Steve is always joking because, like, I do, like, talent interviews for work now a lot during the day. And he's like, we need to get you a I'm recording sign to, like, put above a bedroom door so I can turn it on when I'm recording. You need that, but for outside, so the rest of the world can
just
shut
like
the fuck up.
blast sky. I need to get a skywriter. Oh my God, can I get a skywriter that just says, "Sir, we're podcasting here."
The stakes have never been higher. Podcasting.
Hi, Yell. Says the iOS app does not let you chat. I did not know that. Thank you for that.
Rude, but hi.
Hello. I'm glad you're here.
Rakakuni has lived in my... Rakakuni with the triple R has been stuck in my head all for the next couple of days, so thank you for that.
I'm planning... I shouldn't put it out there in case it doesn't happen, but I'm planning on trying to watch it this weekend.
Bully him, bully him, bully him.
I can be bullied, apparently, as you'll find out today. But as we're getting to that, let's try this again.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Scarred for Life. No. Fuck. Welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly mini-sode where we dig into the things that we've been watching recently. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth. And this week...
Also reading, apparently. My bad.
Oh, yeah. I was like, yes, I'm reading off of my phone. I'm sorry. I thought you were calling me out for reading.
No.
I was like, oh, shit. He got me.
It just got real.
Fuck you.
I'm just so used to saying watching recently, and I just didn't look ahead this time.
That's fair. But I'm Mary Beth, by the way. Everybody, hello. This week we're talking about a book of biblically accurate angels, an incredible revisit, Terry Gets Bullied, an apartment building with secret doors, and a house of ghost cats. Well,
ghost
one
cats.
cat, but ghosts and a ghost cat.
I'm here for it, regardless.
Me too. I'm also very much here for it.
All right. Book of biblically accurate angels.
So everyone who follows me on Twitter has seen my latest hyperfixation, and it is a book called Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. It is a new novel that came out in June. It is technically YA, But let me tell you, this shit is so gory and disgusting and incredible. So the book... Oh my gosh, hi, sorry. The cat just looked up at me with the most pleading, like, please shut the fuck up look I've ever seen. And I'm embarrassed for myself.
Mom. I'm sleeping here.
But, okay, the book takes place in a biblical plague 34 after plague has pretty much wiped the earth of people for the most part.
Okay.
And it's called the Flood. Capital F, which makes me laugh because if you've ever played Halo, the Flood. Anyway, so this virus was created by a group of eco-fascist evangelical terrorists.
Eco-fascist evangelical terrorists?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so they are basically preaching the Book of Revelations and that the world must be, like... This all takes place after everything's happened. So you're getting a lot of this context, like, through the book about, like, who made the virus, what happened. And so our main character is Benji. He is a trans boy who has basically been given has become a bioweapon and has been given a form of the virus that will transform him into Seraph, a biblically accurate angel with 6 wings, and basically is a figure who will wipe humanity off of the earth and, like, kill all the non-believers. And he is actively trying to not fulfill this destiny that has been forced upon his body. And so he runs away from New Nazareth, which is where all of the religious folks live. And he is then rescued by a group of queer youth, all of whom there's trans kids, just gay kids, lesbians, non-binary folks. Like, they basically are a group of young queer resistance people who are actively hunting. They're called angels, but they're soldiers of the Lord. And they're humans. And then, so it's Benji basically trying to fight off his fate. There's no cure for it. So, like, the whole book, he's literally physically falling apart and his skin is falling off and, like, his teeth are growing, like, all sharp and it's, like, fucked up, but it's really good. And I just finished it last night and it is incredible. I am obsessed with biblically accurate angels. I don't know why.
I know.
You know this about me. I am obsessed with it. This is the first piece of media in a very long time that has been like, this is tailored specifically to your weird, fucked up interests. And it's incredible. And there's, like, a little bit of love story to it because it's YA, but it's, like, a really gross, fucked up love story, and everything's gross. And there's these things called graces that are people who are infected with the flood but don't die, and they become, like, giant, mutated, fucked up, gross creatures that scream because their souls are being tortured.
Jesus. Literally.
It's great.
What's it called again?
Hell Followed With Us.
I am adding this to my list.
It's incredible because it is Benji. Yeah.
Like, hello.
And, like, it's so gay and it's so gross, and it does an incredible job of looking at body horror in relation to dysphoria, but also explicitly talking about the experience of dysphoria and, like, play and doing a lot of really interesting stuff with also using autistic characters as well. And it's just, like, incredible representation, and it's really fucking good and gross and scary. So
that's awesome. I just added it to my wish list.
Yes. Yeah, I read it on my Kindle, and then I was like, I need to have this physical copy because the cover art is so pretty. So it's like 400 pages. And I devoured it really fast because I've, like, been hyperfixating on it. But yeah, so I've talked about this all over their Twitter. Everyone, please read it. It is an incredible book. And it is gory, so, like, if you are body horror averse, don't read this one. But it's very, 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 very well written. So.
Hell yeah.
That has been, like, the biggest thing I've been, like... I started it on Friday, and I finished it yesterday. And that's only because I haven't been home for the 4th of July. I'm surprised I didn't finish it on Friday. Highly recommend that one. But Terry, what about you getting bullied?
Well, Mary Beth, I don't know if you know this about me, but a couple times in the podcast now, it's come up that I have not seen Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Apparently
And every single time,
every
single time you're like, what? You haven't? And every single time I'm like, Mary Beth.
We've literally talked about this before.
And then I send you a text and you're like, are you watching this? And I was like, yeah. And you're like, first time? And I'm like, Mary Beth. I mean, I know podcasting brain is a thing, but come on now. And I had to go back on Twitter to remind myself that this wasn't some fever dream. And so I have my phone up here.
Terry gets bullied when Mary Beth gets bullied.
Turnabout is fair play, bitch.
It's true.
That's what I'm scared to say.
It's true.
The 30th of May, we tweet out that we talked with Luke Boyce about Revealer, which is the millionth time it's come up that I have not seen Bram Stoker's Dracula on the podcast. And then someone at Grim Reviewer says, Gaggily Dreadful, you really need to watch Bram Stoker's Dracula, with a really cute gif of Gary Oldman looking young and hot. And then I said, oh my God, I know, I'll try to watch it this weekend. It didn't happen that weekend. Spoiler alert. And then I get a tweet from Mary Beth saying, bully him, in all caps.
I'm so mean, I forget how mean I am.
So here we are, a month, it's change later, and I finally have had time to watch Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Okay. So?
I hated it. I hated it.
Are you serious?
So much. Yeah, I thought it was terrible.
Shut the fuck up. You're fucking with me, right?
No, I absolutely loved it. I was enamored from the very beginning.
My eyes started getting watery. I was like, what do you mean you're Bram Stoker's Dracula?
What I realized is when I started watching it that I had seen the opening cold open, because one of my teachers in college played it as some kind of metaphor. I don't remember exactly what point he was trying to make, but like talking about metaphor, and I remember, because I remember the muscle armor.
Oh yeah.
And the bleeding cross. And then I also had another memory that was unlocked, and it sent me down a little bit of a rabbit hole. Oh no. So we're doing this live, y'all. And EL Purpurina, I apologize. I always feel like I'm saying that name wrong. It said that their tablet crapped out just as the Bram Stoker's discussion started, so I apologize. You'll have to listen to the episode. But yeah, so it also unlocked this memory, though, that I played on Sega CD Bram Stoker's Dracula, the video game.
What? There's a video game of that?
Oh, there is a video game. And they released it on SNES, they released it on a bunch of things, but on the Sega CD version, they had FMV, really shitty FMV, like they ripped from someone's VHS tape type FMV, like clips from the movie that they would play in between stages to create, I guess, a narrative. And in the stages, you run around as Jonathan Harker punching and kicking bats and rats and spiders. That's the game. But I played the shit out of it because I wasn't allowed to as a kid to watch this movie. And so that is how I watched some of the movie. Because I remember in particular the moment where they approach Batcula, and he like, and the cross bursts into flames. Like, I remember that scene. And I remember is it Lucy when she's in the flowing white, really
and like the crazy collar outfit,
Beetlejuice like dress, like showing up like that. Like, I remember those scenes. But no, I love this movie. This movie is horny on main.
It is
Jonathan Harker's gushing blood nipples, like, okay.
Video exclusive hand movement. Yeah, the wolf fucking Lucy outside.
Is that so hot?
I can't even discuss it. I don't even. Every time I'm like,
why is it so hot? Why is it so hot?
It's just so hot. The movie is so hot. Like, everything about it is just like.
It's very horny.
It's so horny. There's. My favorite memory of this movie is when I watched it when I was like, I was around the age of 13, perhaps younger.
Oh.
Yeah, my dad thought it'd be a good idea. Shocking. And
you gotta learn about women and wolves at some point.
You do. You really do. And then the orgy part with the vampire brides. That was the part
Just
I had to
like-
cover my eyes in. That was the one where they were like, cover your eyes. But not the wolf fucking part, just the threesome?
This makes my patty cake story seem like really tame in comparison. I'm just saying.
I'm so glad you I'm so glad you liked it. Number one, incredible movie. Two, Keanu Reeves' accent is fucking horrible in that movie.
Okay,
though.
there is, and I forgot to write it down, but there was one line delivery that I really wish I remembered, because I literally had my laptop open and I didn't take a single note while watching this movie, but there was a line delivery that I was like, rewind? One more time? Like, okay. I love Keanu Reeves, but his performance in this movie is so...
It's not it. It's not
no.
it.
It really isn't, as much as I love him. But everyone else, I think this movie is fantastic. I love that I went on a deep dive about how, like, pretty much 99% of the effects were done in camera. Like, they didn't do any visual effects afterwards. So, like, everything that is shot, pretty much, aside from the little lightning circle in the beginning of the movie when Keanu is approaching the castle, and then something else later.
You mean to tell me Gary Oldman didn't shoot real lightning out of his fingers when they were rolling up?
But everything else was done with like rear projection, with like, because he wanted to make everything practical. And I'm like, okay, I see you. This movie is even more fantastic because of that. And the score, oh my god, the score in this movie is to die for.
Oh. And, like, I know Gary Oldman's a shit, and, like, he's kind of a bad dude, but he's so hot in this movie.
Oh, he's incredibly hot in this movie.
I love his titty hair, too, when he's old.
Okay, this is one thing that, and I cannot wait in horror comedy, because I'm going to make you watch this movie, but it is hard watching this movie after watching Dracula Dead and loving it. Because that movie is a parody of this movie in a lot of ways. And there's a scene where Leslie Nielsen playing Dracula takes off his hairdo as it's a hat. And we're going to watch this movie because I could quote this movie like verbatim. But anyway, I loved Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I'm so glad. Ugh. Thank you, God.
So,
I would have been really
Beth,
concerned if you didn't like it. But.
And Grim Reviewer, you can stop bullying me now.
No, I'll find something else to bully you about. I bullied you online last week. I'll bully you again. Cyberbullying is my love language.
Any else is bullying about RRR? I'm going to try to watch it this weekend. I will not promise, but I will. A step below promise.
I understand. That one is also understandable. It is very long, but like she said, like they say, you can do 2 90-minute runs. It's true.
Okay, what is this incredible revisit?
Okay, so Steve and I have been having a very stressful couple of days for a lot of reasons. Whatever. So on Friday, we were like, do we want to do edibles and watch a movie? And we were like, yeah, we do.
The answer is always yes.
The answer is always yes. Because it's just like, yeah, fuck it, it's Friday. I'm exhausted. I want to just have a good time. So the movie that we picked is the 2003 classic League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, starring Sean Connery as Alan Quartermain. And when I tell you that I had not thought about this movie in so long, and I watched it, and it was so fun. Yes, it is not a good movie, but goddamn, if one, that movie is not dumb, actiony, early aughts action spectacle at its finest. And two, it is the most bisexual movie ever to exist. I tweeted about this because I have no filter on any platform. Wait, is it really the name of the character in the soap opera in General Hospital, Alan Quartermain? Yeah, it is. But... so, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, based on the comic by Alan Moore, who wrote Watchmen and V for Vendetta, these are very different. As with most things Alan Moore writes, and then how they are taken into the world of cinema, very different. Mm-hmm. But here, it's basically all of these figures of legend coming together to fight crime. So Alan Quartermain, who is, you know, known to be like a white guy in Africa, like hunting. Tom Sawyer's in it.
It's like the Avengers.
Mina Harker is in it.
Of the literary world.
Yeah, Mina Harker, Dracula. She's in it. Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. We have The Invisible Man. We have Dorian Gray. We have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like, it's a who's who of all that stuff. And it's like, I'd say gothic, but it's not necessary. It's not just gothic, but like Victorian era heroes and monsters. They're all fighting crime together. They make a little group, the League. And of course, there's one woman, because there has to be. Duh.
Of course.
And they're fighting bad guys who want to do bad things to the world. And it's incredible because it is just what it is. I mean, Captain Nemo's the best part. He's got the Nautilus is this ridiculously giant ship that just pops out of the water in Venice. And you're like, cool, I guess that's happening. And Stuart Townsend of Queen of the Damned fame, who plays Lestat in that movie. Lestat?
Oh, yeah. He was Lestat.
So Lestat from Queen of the Damned plays Dorian Gray, who is very gay in this movie and very bisexual. And then there also is Mina Harker. And they are the two bisexuals of this movie. And it's just very gay, queer, campy energy going on all around. And it was a very good time. And I'm glad I rewatched it. It's on HBO Max streaming if anyone wants to go down that particular memory lane. Highly recommend it.
I saw this in the movie theaters when it came out. And I remember not liking it. But again, I would have been 22. So I was like, you know, my nothing can be fun, like type of.
Oh, yeah. I loved this movie when I saw it because I was younger and like loved weird, crazy monster stuff. And also I think probably a sex thing now that I'm thinking about it. But like, that's fine. And now I'm like, oh no, like this movie is not good, but it's like fucking fun and it's so silly and it's great. So,
random note, the director, Stephen Norrington.
Yes!
Was an actor in Return to Oz. He played Gump, the talking, what is that? Reindeer? Guy that they turn into like a plane?
He also directed Blade.
Wait, he directed Blade?
He directed the first Blade movie.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So he directed Blade, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and then two other movies.
That was his last movie.
And then he was in
the last directorial movie. I don't think it did too well for his career.
But yeah, so it was a fun revisit of something I had not thought about in a long time. And it was just like okay, yeah. Because I've been watching a lot of TV, like a lot, and like not enough to talk about it. So that was my fun little revisit. But then what is this apartment building with secret doors?
I was trying to figure out a way of like describing it. So back in 2021, this TV show called Only Murders in the Building came out. And I had started watching it. I had watched like the first 3 episodes, and then I got sidetracked because it was a week-to-week. It was a week-to-week show, and I just forgot about it. And so this weekend, I was like, I have time. I really want to get back into the show. So I rewatched the entire first season, and then I proceeded to, because I have screeners, rewatched the entire 8 of the 10 episodes of season 2. So I watched almost 2 seasons of the show, and if you haven't watched it, it has Steve Martin in it, and Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, and Amy Ryan.
Amy Ryan's
What's
in
his
it?
bucket? Nathan. Wow. Yeah, Amy Ryan is fantastic in it, and Nathan Lane, and a bunch of cameos. Sting has a cameo in the first season as someone that is renting the penthouse suite at the top of this apartment building. And then in the second season, Amy Schumer has purchased the penthouse and is living up in the penthouse version of it. But it's about these 3 people: Steve Martin's character, Charles, Martin Short's Oliver, and Selena Gomez's Mabel, who live in the apartment building, don't really know each other, but on one night, someone pulls an alarm for a fire. Everyone evacuates. They all 3 listen to the same podcast. They just don't realize it yet. It's a true crime podcast that is hosted by Tina Fey. Well, not Tina Fey, but Tina Fey playing a character. We all know how much I love Tina Fey.
Oh, yes.
Her character's name is Cinda Canning, which is just like the perfect podcaster name. Cinda Canning. And she hosts this podcast about that they're like all addicted to. They discovered that they were all three addicted to it. And then that night when the alarm was pulled, they realized someone was murdered in the building. But all the doctors are saying that, all the cops are saying that it was a suicide. But they're like, no, this person was murdered. And so they decide to make a true crime podcast about the murder in the building. And they call it Only Murders in the Building because that's all they're going to focus on. And the first season is about that murder. It gets wrapped up. I'm not going to spoil it in case you haven't watched it yet. But then someone else dies and Mabel gets implicated for that person's death. And so season 2 is all of a sudden Cinda Canning's podcast is following them as they're also trying to make a podcast of this follow-up murder that's happening in the building. And season 2 opens up the story a lot more. It's a bit less focused. What I really like about it is that it will take characters that are just side characters and pretty much do an entire episode about them, so that you all of a sudden are like, oh, this person who seems like a complete utter jackass is actually someone who's kind of interesting. It's just there's a lot to it. There's a lot of really it's a very warm show for something about murder in a building. And in the second season, you find out that there's like secret passages in amongst all the rooms and stuff. And so it starts to like open up the building, and they're like all of a sudden realizing that people could be watching them and they're watching other people. So there's like a voyeuristic thing to it that kind of pulls into the whole true crime aspect of it. And they have groupies that are trying to solve the crime and are, complaining about how the storyline in the second season isn't moving as fast as the first. Like there's a lot of meta type stuff going on there. It's delightful. It's just delightful.
I've heard that it's delightful, and it's on Hulu, right? Is it on Hulu? It like pops up on Hulu whenever I go to watch Real Housewives, and I'm like, I should fucking watch this. And
30-minute episodes, very quick.
And it's like Steve Martin and Martin Short.
I love Martin Short. I love him.
He's so
I love him
funny.
so much.
I know.
He really is.
Cool. And it's also nice to see him playing a character that's not like a total caricature. I feel like he plays a lot of like crazy characters because he's really good at it, obviously.
Jiminy Glick.
Exactly. So, but it's kind of like, I haven't seen the show, but it seems like he's more of like a person and not like a complete caricature of something, which is cool.
And Amy Ryan plays a bassoonist who Steve Martin's character hears out the window, and they have, because Steve Martin plays the accordion. And he plays, but he's an instrumentalist, but he's out there and they're having like a duet across the field of them playing, and there's a little love story going on there, and it's a delightful show.
Delightful. Okay.
Cool. I love it. Now let's talk about houses and ghost cats. What did we watch for our horror comedy this week?
So for our horror comedy of the week, we talked about the 1977 film Hausu, or House, directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi. Yeah, we sure did. And it was my first time watching it all the way through. And this movie's a masterpiece.
It really is.
This movie's a fucking masterpiece.
What's it about?
Okay, what is this movie about? So there is like a plot, kind of. So after the death of her mother, 8 years ago, her mother died. Gorgeous, which is her name, takes a trip to the country to visit her aunt at their ancestral house. She visits her 6 friends: Prof, Melody, Mac, Fantasy, Kung Fu, and Sweet. And they all arrive at this like country house, and the aunt is like eccentric, has a little bob haircut, some glasses, and a wheelchair, and they're like, "You're so fun." And then the house starts acting real weird, and it comes to and then
understatement of the decade.
Basically, it's a haunted house movie, but like in a way that's just like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's a haunted house movie, but unlike any haunted house movie you've ever seen and probably will ever see.
As I took in my notes, it is the warmest, most upbeat bloodbath of a movie.
That's so. I was thinking that too, because there's a point. What point was I thinking that? I think they were like, there was two characters left, and they're like on a door, and like the house is filling up with blood.
Blood.
And like the music is so silly. And I'm just like, yeah, all right. I respect this entirely.
What I love about this film, I'm gonna see where I had it. So okay. Toho, the studio that did this movie, was tired of losing money on comprehensible films and were ready to let Obayashi direct the house script, which they felt was incomprehensible. So the only reason this movie got made was because they were losing money on comprehensible films. And they originally were not going to let him direct it because he was not on their board of filmmakers, but no one else wanted to direct it because they were afraid it was going to ruin their career.
And meanwhile, Obayashi's just like, hold my fucking beer, bitch. And then it's just like the best movie ever. Like the best haunted house movie I've ever seen with some of the coolest visuals. Yeah.
And he's... There's a point on Wikipedia where they're talking about how Obayashi went to his preteen daughter to kind of get her ideas because he thought adults only think about things they understand and everything stays on that boring human levels while children can come up with things that can't be explained. Some of the things that she suggested were real life fears of her, including having a pile of futons falling on her. And I'm like, is that a real thing? Were you afraid of futons falling on you as a kid, Mary Beth? Just like being crushed by futons? Because that makes it into the movie. It's not futons, but like...
I never really thought about it.
I hadn't either. I was like, what kind of fears is that?
Well, but I do think, though, in Japan, and I'm not totally sure, but like especially in more traditional houses, like the beds roll up or you put them against the wall. So you don't have, like, there isn't like a bed frame like we have here. Like, a lot of houses, like in traditional Japanese houses, it's all like laid out on the ground when you go to bed and put back up. So that probably makes a little bit more sense if that's why she's scared of it.
Her other fear was getting her fingers caught in between piano keys.
Okay, that scene ruled and was... I took a screenshot of when the fingers are just standing up on the piano keys.
I love it. They're just dancing on the keys.
Good.
Severed fingers.
But, like, it's really quite impressive what they're able to accomplish. Like, obviously it looks fake, but what's the best part? Because I think they know, they're like, oh, this isn't going to look real. Like, this is going to look silly, and we're just going to lead into that and make it look
He wanted it to look as if a kid made it.
And it's, I mean, he accomplishes that goal. My favorite part is when her face starts coming off like paper and there's fire underneath her skin. Oh, I love it. And like, again, it just looks so good. The dancing skeleton's my favorite.
Oh my god, the dancing skeleton in the background when she's playing the piano and it's trying to eat her, and it's just like my favorite. My other favorite is in the very beginning because they're like the young women are like giggling over Mr. Togo, their teacher, right? And they have this book, and he is pointing out the pistil and the stamen of a flower. And I'm like, those are the flower's reproductive organs. That's hilarious. Like, it's just such a small little throwaway line where he's like showing them basically their reproductive organs. And I'm just like, okay, I love this.
It's
also,
just...
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to, I think, I believe firmly that Sam Raimi watched this movie because it has the same kind of kinetic camera, the slapstick humor, the house coming alive and attacking, the blood pouring out of everything that he would use in Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 in particular. I feel like this movie, he probably saw it and it just influenced him.
Like the fucking Mac's head coming out of the well and then biting one of their asses.
Butt.
Oh my god. But it's true. Like, and I was thinking a lot about like how many people watched this movie and were influenced by it, and like how I really do think about how much like Asian cinema has influenced Western cinema, and how like there were so many filmmakers in Japan that were making things that were just so out of the box and wild. And I mean, I think it's crazy that Toho was like, yeah, everything comprehensible is bullshit. Let's make something that makes no goddamn sense. And I wish that was our perspective nowadays, because I feel like that would solve so many problems. They were just like, fuck narrative cohesion. Let's just like have a good time and do some crazy shit and just be like, don't worry about the story. Like, sometimes you just want to vibe. And that's what House is. Spooky, fun vibes.
Spooky, fun vibes. Sometimes you just want a grand piano to, like, eat someone and have them in half. Just, like, it's like playing crazy music.
It's like a bad haunted house at a carnival, but scary, if that makes any sense. Like, the vibe of a bad haunted house. You're like, what the hell? But it's still scary and there's blood. And you're like, I'm a little bit terrified, but having a good time. I'm not really sure what's going on. That's this movie. And it's incredible. And of course, there's Cat. There's a cat. An evil...
Love the cat.
Cat. Which is great. But I am so sad I had waited so long to see it. But now I have, and I am obsessed with it. I watched it sober. I want to try watching it not sober.
Oh, I can only imagine how this film would play, like, in a movie theater full of, like, a rowdy group. Like, this is, like...
It's gotta be so fun.
I love this movie.
I love this movie, and it's, like, it's so aware of what it is that it never takes itself seriously. And especially at the beginning when they introduce all of the girls with, like, the very, like, sitcom-y way of having the little circle, and they're like, it's... Kung fu, fantasy, melody. It's so fucking funny the way it's constructed, but gorgeous at the same time. Oh, anyway.
Yeah, I love how they are, like, in this movie establishing tropes for characters, right?
Yes.
And boiling them down to just a name that embodies them. Fantasy is constantly like... Think Prof, right, is the smart one. Fantasy is in her head. Melody plays the piano. Gorgeous is pretty. Kung Fu, she's great at, attacking things and doing, karate type stuff. I love it.
It was incredible. 10 out of 10. No notes. Cannot wait to watch it again. This was so fun. But so then, what's our next horror comedy?
Okay, so we're gonna dip into the parody realm. I don't know if you've seen this one before, Mary Beth, but 1981's Student Bodies. I think I have seen it once, but I don't remember much about it, except that it's a parody in the same way of, like, Airplane and those type of movies.
Oh.
So, I think it's a slasher film.
Okay, I've seen the poster. 13 and a half murders plus 1,423 laughs equals Student Bodies. It's the tagline on Letterboxd. Okay. All right. I'm excited.
Parody time. But what's not a parody, who are we talking with on Monday, Mary Beth?
Okay. So we are talking on Monday with the incredible Dr. Heather Petrocelli. She is a horror academic who in 2019 did a huge survey of queer horror fans. And she is for her dissertation, and now she is turning that dissertation into a book called Queer for Fear, Horror Film and the Queer Spectator. And she brought with her Silkwood.
Which is a biography about Karen Silkwood, the woman who worked at a plutonium plant and was poisoned and died.
Just a whistleblower.
In under mysterious circumstances.
Yep.
Real life person. Real life horror.
Yeah. Whew. It's something. So, we talk a lot about that. And Cher's in it. So, get ready for that. It's actually a really, really, really good conversation for a movie that I was like, I don't know what this is going to go, but it's a really incredible conversation.
Long one, too. I think goes over our typical episode, but Heather is just... She was fantastic, and we spent the first 40 minutes just talking about queer horror and talking about, like, all of that kind of shit. And I was like, this is so great. This was such a good conversation.
Friend. Yeah, and Silkwood is way gayer than you think. I didn't know, so that's fun too. We talk about how this movie actually is pretty damn queer. So that is going to be our Monday episode, everybody. The listeners, you've heard from us. You've seen us, maybe. Yeah. We want to hear from you. Have you read or watched anything we've talked about this week and have thoughts? Do you have suggestions for things that we should be watching or reading? Send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast at Scarred Podcast.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe. And also, I don't know if you watched, but we put the last week's Little Cuts on YouTube. We're going to put this week's Little Cuts on YouTube. We're testing the waters. We're recording this live, as we heard earlier. We're doing some things. We're testing things out for a potential Patreon. So watch it. Let us know what you think. And make sure you're following along with us.
Please and thank you. It means the best. The best? Mm-hmm. The world?
It means the best.
It means the best. Anyway, thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. Please stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.
Won't somebody please think of the children? Won't somebody please think of the children? Somebody please think of the children!
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is the briefing room?
It's a behind the scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.